All right, welcome to this explainer. If you design mechanical parts for a living, you've probably lived this exact, incredibly specific nightmare. You spend 4,000 euros on a supposedly top-tier machine loaded up with 24 cores, only to sit there staring at your screen while a sketch line stutters as you drag it across the monitor. Or, maybe you've watched a colleague try to save some cash by buying a gaming laptop, only to spend the next 2 years trying to explain weird graphics glitches to their manager. Look, we've been seeing people buy the wrong hardware for CAD work for over 15 years now, and honestly, the mistakes rarely change. But today, we're gonna fix that. Here's our roadmap for today. First, the CAD reality check. Then, hidden hardware traps. Next, top picks by workflow. After that, sizing your hardware. And finally, the 12-check rule. So, section 1, the CAD reality check. Okay, let's dive into this. It's easily the most painful question in mechanical engineering right now. Why does dragging a single sketch line still stutter on a $4,000 24-core machine? I mean, it makes absolutely no sense until you actually understand what the software is asking the hardware to do. And strangely, almost nobody writing mainstream buying guides seems to grasp this concept. So here is the absolute truth about CAD. Rebuilding a parametric model is purely a single-thread job, period. The software solver has to walk your feature tree in sequential order. Because feature 400 literally depends on feature 399, having 24 processor cores does absolutely nothing for you here. It's all about clock speed and cache. Meanwhile, just spinning that model in the viewport, that's a GPU and driver job, not raw processor horsepower. Honestly, meshing, running FEA, CFD, or rendering are the only tasks that actually want every core you own. And for most design engineers, that's what, maybe 10% of your working week? So yeah, a laptop can look spectacular on a marketing chart and still feel completely sluggish in SolidWorks. Moving on to section 2, hidden hardware traps. So knowing all that, how do buyers keep getting fooled? Well, it usually comes down to hidden manufacturer traps. Manufacturers love playing games with power limits, and this brilliantly illustrates the issue. Just look at the wattage drop-offs here. All 3 of these machines can be ordered with the exact same NVIDIA RTX Pro 5000 Blackwell GPU. Same name, same line on your purchase order, but depending on the chassis and the power brick, they perform radically differently. The Dell settles in around 121 to 125 watts, the HP hits 115 watts, and the ThinkPad P16 drops all the way down to 95 watts because it ships with a much smaller 180-watt adapter. Guys, that is roughly a 30% performance spread on identical silicon. And the traps definitely don't stop at the graphics card. Take the Lenovo ThinkPad P16 Gen 3. Its DDR5 memory natively runs at a blazing 5,600 megatransfers per second. Awesome, right? But buried deep in their spec sheets is a massive penalty. If you fill all 4 RAM slots with 32 or 48 gigabyte modules, your memory bandwidth plummets down to 4,000 MTPS. That's a 29% bandwidth loss just from maximizing your memory capacity. And memory bandwidth matters enormously if you're doing heavy FEA solves. All right, section 3, top picks by workflow. Now that we know what to watch out for, let's transition into our highly targeted 2026 laptop recommendations. We aren't just ranking these by some arbitrary benchmark scores, we're categorizing them by how you actually spend your working day. First up, the Dell Pro Max 16 Plus. If you want one machine that just gets nearly everything right, this is it. It's rocking the Core Ultra 9 285HX and an RTX Pro 5000. But what's really incredible here is that it utilizes CAM2 memory for higher bandwidth and less space, and it actually features a removable DGFF graphics card. It's not soldered to the motherboard, meaning in 3 years, you can actually upgrade this thing instead of throwing the whole shebang. You should absolutely buy this if you basically live inside massive assemblies. In recorded viewport traces from actual CAD applications, it's 35 to 50% faster than the previous generation. It's a beast. But it's not for everyone. Do not buy it if your quality process requires ECC memory, because Dell simply doesn't offer it at any price on this model. Also, heads up if you need to work in a quiet office. Under heavy load, it hits a very loud 54.3 decibels, and the CPU can run incredibly hot, sitting right around 96 degrees Celsius. Next up, for the simulation specialists out there, we have the HP ZBook Fury G1i 16. This is the machine you buy when the final deliverable is a solved model, rather than just a pretty picture. It's now been updated with Intel's Core Ultra 9 290HX Plus refresh. The reason this wins for analysis work is kind of boring, but absolutely decisive. This is your best bet if you run FEA and CFD full-time because it offers up to 256 gigabytes of ECC-capable memory across 4 slots. Look, a single bit flip during a 40-hour transient solve ruins literally everything. ECC is your insurance policy against that. It also boasts 4 Gen 5 M2 storage base. The only catch? Stay away from this model if you're just hunting for the absolute highest peak benchmark numbers. HP tunes this machine really conservatively, purposefully sacrificing peak throughput to give you vital thermal headroom and steady, quiet reliability across an 8-hour solve. Now, if you actually leave your desk, meet the Lenovo ThinkPad P1 Gen 8. This thing weighs in at just 1.9 kilograms and uses a tiny 398-gram, 140-watt USB-C adapter. Honestly, for the vast majority of working mechanical designers who aren't running heavy simulations all day, this is the correct answer. It's perfect if you split your week between the CAD seed, the shop floor, and supplier visits. It gets nearly 8 hours of real-world battery life, which is frankly remarkable for a certified workstation, and features a brilliant 600-nit tandem OLED screen you can actually read in a sunlit room. You will want to pass on this, however, if your assemblies demand more than 8 gigabytes of VRAM. That is the hard ceiling for its Pro 2000 graphics card, and its 64 gigs of system memory are soldered in, meaning 0 upgrades down the line. Finally, we've got to talk about the Apple MacBook Pro 16 featuring the M5 Max chip. Engineers constantly ask about this machine, and it's super easy to see why. The single-thread performance is just completely unmatched. It scores a blistering 4,268 on Geekbench single-core, which is a massive 47% lead over Intel's 285H. Plus, it's practically silent, runs super cool, and has unbeatable battery life. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the harsh reality it presents for mechanical engineers. Despite housing the fastest single-thread chip in the world, which, remember, is precisely what parametric modeling craves, SolidWorks does not run on Mac OS. Neither does Siemens NX, Creo, Inventor, or CATIA. It's completely disqualified for most mechanical engineers right out of the gate. So we really need to ring-fence this beautifully designed machine for a very specific, narrow group of designers. It's an absolute dream if you're an industrial designer using Fusion 360, Onshape, Rhino, or browser-based tools. But you should absolutely avoid it if you work in a SolidWorks shop, rely on enterprise ISV certification for official IT support, or if you expect a long warranty. Apple only offers 12 months standard, compared to the 3 years you typically get with the Windows workstations. Section 4, sizing your hardware. Let's move to this and see how this builds out. Here's a crucial takeaway. You literally do not need to max out every specification to get great performance. This is your cheat sheet for matching graphics VRAM to your actual assembly size. Check this out. If you're working with parts or small assemblies under 500 components, an RTX Pro 1000 with 4 to 8 gigabytes of VRAM is perfectly fine. Moving up to, say, 2,000 to 8,000 components, the RTX Pro 3000 with 12 gigs hits the absolute sweet spot. You only truly need the massive 24 gigabytes of the RTX Pro 5000 if you're tackling monstrous assemblies of over 25,000 parts or doing heavy local AI and GPU rendering. Choosing a Pro 3000 or 4000 over a 5000 can save your firm thousands of dollars without sacrificing any real-world workflow speed. And finally, Section 5, the 12 check rule. So you've chosen your machine and it finally arrives on your desk. What now? Well, you must execute a strict post-purchase testing strategy before your return window closes. We call this the 12 check rule, but I want to highlight the 3 most critical tests right now. First, the sustained multi-thread loop. Run a 30-minute synth-bench loop and compare run 1 to run 20. A single 90-second benchmark is basically just marketing. Run 20 tells you how the cooling system actually handles sustained heat. Second, test the unplugged penalty. Run your viewport traces again purely on battery power. Some laptops literally lose over 40% of their graphics performance the second you pull the plug. Finally, the ultimate metric, the 3 o'clock test. Just do your normal CAD modeling for 3 uninterrupted hours and then check your clock speeds and temperatures. Which brings us to the core realization of this entire explainer. Cold 90-second benchmarks lie to you. They tell you what a laptop can do for a brief, shining moment under absolutely perfect conditions. So you really have to ask yourself, are you still choosing your expensive hardware based on those fleeting benchmarks? Or are you finally ready to test for what your machine will actually do to your workflow at 4 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon? Because honestly, in the real world of mechanical design, that is the only metric that has ever mattered. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. See you next time.